All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Today is October 20th, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central. However, this week we are in the midst of a hiring blitz. We're bringing on a number of new attorneys. So we'll only have trainings this week, today, of course, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because we're going to be involved with getting those new attorneys onboarded. But today's topic is a really practical one, so the screen should be shared. At the top, we have our basic resources. So let's go through those first. If you or you know someone that's looking for funding to start or grow a business, they could simply go right here to entrepreneurstarterpack.com. It's a simple landing page, only asks for four pieces of information: first name, last name, email, phone, and then that will plug them into more information and the ability to participate in the grant. For any of you who are resellers or would like to be a reseller, you should have a landing page that looks just like that. If you don't, be sure to text us so we can get that set up. Having a landing page is an easy way to bring your prospects into your sales funnel. Our website is 509pacific.org. Our text support line is one of the best ways to reach us, 903-347-8042. We call it a text support line because it's not our phone number. It's not answered live, at least not normally. We put most of our trainings up on YouTube afterwards, so you're welcome to go back and view other trainings. And then if you just simply need to schedule, you can use this link to schedule. Our background, as we normally cover, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We applied for and received a grant, and the grant has three primary mandates. So a lot of times these morning trainings fit right into that. So for example, number one, improving financial literacy. What are some basic principles that you and I know that, quite frankly, a lot of people don't know or may not even at least take into consideration when it comes to finance, business finance? Well, the first of which is, if you want business funding, we need to have a fundable business. Can't really skip that step. Although it's not real easy to discern what that exactly means, because there are different sources of capital and each have their own underwriting. But if you and I were just out there teaching, we would probably want to teach the concept of the three C's when it comes to having a fundable business. In addition to having an entity that's set up properly, that's compliant, that has a good commercial address, we need to be concerned with having the three C's: credit, talking about business credit, collateral, capacity. Capacity means the same as cash flow. So those are some key concepts. And what we're going to talk about today is on credit, on business credit. If we are trying to get business funding, we want to demonstrate legally and ethically to lenders and issuers of credit that our business is credit worthy. Well, how do we do that? We want to add trade lines. We want real primary usable trade lines to report on our Dun Bradstreet report. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't want to say it's a loophole, but it's certainly a best practice. If you and I were to sit down with any entrepreneur, and if they didn't have a strong business credit profile, we probably would want to come up with a game plan to add some trade lines so that way they could qualify for these larger amounts of cash funding. And without a doubt, one of the most effective and frankly easiest to get large trade lines is a business automobile. So we're going to go through that in a minute. Our second mandate is we provide free shelf corps to entrepreneurs. So I mentioned a moment ago about the importance of having the foundation of a fundable business, having an entity that has no issues, it's compliant at the state and federal level. We have our DUNS number, our Dun Bradstreet number. We have an entity to build off of. And so rather than helping clients clean up what they might already have, we in fact provide them a free shelf corp. So that's number two, the second mandate. And that's a big part of what you and I do as resellers. And then the third is to use that knowledge and use those shelf corps to go get them funding. Our average capital raise has grown and grown over time, where now it's typically around $1 million, but we can go as low as 100,000. We won't go below 100,000 because the grant requires us to demonstrate that we help every grant participant get at least 100,000 of funding, and the clients, the participants, are promising to work with us to do the same. But 100,000 is not the max; it's the minimum. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and drill into what we hinted towards a moment ago. If our goal is to get business funding, we need to have a fundable business. What that means can vary by lender, but in general, we should always aspire to have a strong business credit profile. So we're not talking about personal credit, we're talking about business credit. We've had separate trainings, which are up on the YouTube channel, about how we get the DUNS number and build out the profile. But what do we do then? Once we have the DUNS number and the profile built out, which is normally always less than a week, could be as soon as just a day or two, what do we do then? Well, let me show you step by step how we can help clients add a very large trade line that does not have to have a PG. It does not have to have a personal guarantee. So, scrolling down here, the disclaimer here is that we do what we preach about, what we teach about, and we would encourage, if you're one of our resellers, to do the same, because you'll have the greatest confidence, the greatest credibility if you followed the same steps. Do you have to? No. But when we talk about getting large trade lines and getting business automobiles without a PG, we wanted to walk the walk, so we've done that. So this is a picture here of off the dealership's website, and then this is of the business vehicle that we bought under the EIN, and then this is actually the vehicle. It came yesterday, ironically, on a Sunday. They offered to deliver it on Saturday, but we had storms here. So we'll go ahead and just watch a 29-second video of them unloading it, and then we're going to go through the step-by-step guide that you could follow, your clients could follow, frankly, anyone can follow to add a very large trade line. So nothing too exciting, but literally we can help you, we can help any client pick the car that they want, buy it under the business name. You don't even have to go to the dealership. They'll bring the vehicle to you. So let's go ahead and let's go through the step-by-step guide. Make this a little bit smaller. And we're going to go through the 10 steps to do exactly as we just did. And again, this was delivered yesterday. So this isn't just a theory or a concept. We've done it, and we encourage you to do it as well. So step-by-step guide. We certainly need to start with the vehicle that you want to buy. We want to buy a vehicle under the business name. It can be new or pre-owned. It could be of any given manufacturer. So there's not specific vehicles that you can buy. There are some vehicles that will qualify for some IRS accelerated depreciation, like the Escalade that we got, but you can literally pick any vehicle that you want. You don't need to go to the dealership. You're too busy. I know we're too busy. So if you want to go to the dealership, you can. But in general, you do not even need to step foot into a dealership. You just give them a call, tell them the vehicle that you want to buy, which you normally will find on their website, and then tell them you're going to buy it in your business name. To you, that may sound unusual or difficult or complicated, but it's not. I promise you it's not complicated. We're going to even show you how to properly apply for it. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. So once you've called the dealership, then they're going to send you a simple application. So in our exact example, I think it was last Wednesday we found the vehicle. It was out of state, which is not uncommon. When you're getting nicer vehicles, a lot of times you'll need to get the vehicle shipped in. It won't be local. So with that, then they emailed us the simple application, and we're going to go through in a minute. It's scrolled down here, specifically what was on that application, but it's very basic. It's a no doc application. You don't have to submit tax returns or bank statements. It's really, really easy. Some people are disappointed when we share how to get a business vehicle that it's not more complicated, but it is what it is. So then the application that we received came directly from the dealership. It was emailed as a PDF. It was not an e-contract. So then we had to print it out, fill it out, and scan and send it back in. But you could even just take a picture of it with your phone if that's easier for you. And so you'll submit that application back into the dealership, and they're going to want a copy of your driver's license and proof of insurance. Now you might say, well, wait. If this is going to be a company vehicle, why do they need to know anything about you? Well, there's always going to be a person involved, and the driver's license shows proof of identity. Make sure that someone's not getting scammed, that someone that's unauthorized is buying a vehicle for someone else under someone else's business name. And then the laws require that the car show proof of insurance when it leaves the lot. Now, it doesn't mean that you've already added that car to your auto insurance policy, which you might not have yet, but it's covered under your personal insurance for 30 days. So then literally the dealership does this for you. And I know that some of you are just looking for some exciting process, but it's not. They're familiar, most dealerships are familiar with financing under the business name. Typically, it's going to be with Ally Financial, which we've talked about on trainings you can see up on our YouTube channel, but it may not be. I see a question from Donovan. He's asking, can you do this more than once? So yes, you can get multiple business automobiles. And that's I'm glad Donovan brought that up because that's true in general. Businesses have much more borrowing capacity than do people. So you can get one, two, three. We have 4 company vehicles under the company name. That's not a problem. When you're getting business loans, which is ultimately what most people are working towards, you can get much larger amounts much more quickly through a business than you can through an individual. That's why business funding, business financing is so popular. So they'll get you set up. Again, they'll pick which finance company that is giving you the best terms. Usually it's Ally Financial, but it may not be. They'll guide you through that. They have a finance person at the dealership that's going to do all the dirty work. So it's not complicated for you. It's not complicated for us. And so in our specific instance last week, then they sent us a DocuSign. So again, we didn't have to go to the dealership to sign anything. We didn't have to go to a notary. They simply sent a DocuSign, click, 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 and it submitted back. And then the purchase paperwork was done. Crazy simple. So you got to complete that DocuSign. And then they're going to ask you, well, when do you want the vehicle? They'll probably ask you, do you want it shipped in an enclosed or open truck? Now, as I showed you a moment ago, we wanted to get it pretty quickly in time for this training. They offered to ship it for free in an enclosed trailer. This was an open rollback, they call it. But this was immediately available, and I wanted to have this information for you this morning. But if you prefer to have your vehicle shipped in an enclosed trailer, they can do that as well. So they literally ship the vehicle to you, you receive it, and bam, what do you have? You have a company vehicle, which is great. You have a sign of success that your business is real and operating. But ultimately, the goal here is to have a big trade line that's reporting on your Dun Bradstreet, Experian business, and or Equifax business. Now, I'm going to go through what's on this application, the business application, so we're ready in a moment. That's what's next. But are there any questions that any of you have on the 10 steps that we've discussed? And again, your experience could be a little bit different, but I wanted to give you a specific play-by-play of exactly how it worked for us. We believe it should work about the same for you. But we don't just jump into this, right? First, we need to have a vehicle. I'm sorry, we need to have a business that's set up credibly. Having that commercial address is very important so the business looks credible. So everything that we're doing, there's a puzzle that we're putting together, a legal and ethical puzzle. So I think that's what Benita is getting to. So she's right. We need to start. We don't just go get a company vehicle. We need to make sure that we have a compliant business, a good foundation to build off of. Then we can start adding trade lines like company vehicles, company credit cards, company line of credit. There's lots of different trade lines that can be added. But Benita's right. We must start with having that business foundation, or we won't get approved. Thuk asked, down payment. Typically not. Typically, there's not a down payment, but there could be. I mean, the finance team at the dealership's going to run through, work with their finance companies like Ally and GM Financial, Chase and others, Mercedes Financial, but they've got the lenders. You don't have to go out and find a lender that will extend to you business credit. We just need to find the vehicle and then go through the dealership. Now, if you're not going through a new dealership, if you're working through, Bob's Backyard Autos, then they may not be set up for that. All right, Gilbert asked a really good question of what if he already has a vehicle, but it's in his personal name? He made a mistake. He bought it in his personal name. Yes, we can absolutely go and convert that personal vehicle into a business vehicle and get a trade line. So, yeah, so maybe we don't need another car. We just want to pivot the vehicle we have from being personal to business. Yes, Gilbert, we've done that personally, and the process is pretty similar. Any other questions on the specific steps? All right, Doug's asking about dollar amounts. Well, I mean, you're deciding what business vehicle you want. In general, the bigger the better because we want as large of a trade line. So we wanted about a $200,000 trade line. So that's why we chose the Escalade ESV-V. But you could do something very modest, or you could do something much more extravagant. I know some of you, a $200,000 vehicle would kind of cramp your style, like John Stockton. He's probably looking at a Bugatti. But the bottom line is that the concept is the same. You can pick the car, you can pick the dealership. This is very similar. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this application because I think there's some fear, some cautiousness of, well, what are they going to ask me to get approved for my business automobile? Not very complicated. Let's scroll down. So this is specifically what they asked for from us for this purchase, which we just received yesterday, and it's going to be, I think, pretty similar in most cases. But of course, it could be that they ask for you something different from you. I don't know. But in general, they're going to have, like on the application they sent us, number 3, it was a 2-page application. And the first page had information about the business, and the second page information about the business owner. So what did they need to know about the business? And again, these shelf corps that we're providing are well suited for this. So they're going to ask, to no surprise, the business name. They're also going to ask the EIN. I didn't mention that here, but business name and EIN. They're going to ask for the business address. And you've heard us say so many times, business addresses matter. But in our shelf corps, when we're giving away these free shelf corps, we're providing a free commercial address. Participant just pays for the mail forwarding, but the address matters. Now, are they going to ship the vehicle to your business address? Well, they'll ship it wherever you want. In our case, they shipped it to our home because I wasn't at work on Sunday. But the bottom line is we do need to have a good business address, but we provide that. We know that's important. They're going to ask for the business phone, and that's part of our normal setup. They will ask, what is the annual income of your business? Now, some of you get a little concerned about that. But if you go back and look at the Shelf Corp deliverables that we provide, and normally about 7 days from the time that a client comes in, when we're giving them away the free Shelf Corp, they're getting the filing documents with the Secretary of State. They're getting the business plan and financial projections. So those financial projections that we provide is where the numbers will typically come from. So you don't have to figure it out. The Shelf Corps as delivered are set up as management consulting firms with about 100,000 a month in bank deposits, about 1.2, 1.3 million a year. So that's how everything is set up by default. As you know or should know, we can work with each client to modify the business plan and projections based upon their needs and preferences. Otherwise, they're good to go. They will ask for the bank name of the business. So you're going to make sure you have a bank account, but that's kind of obvious. They will ask typically for the business account number. They'll ask for the phone number of the business and a contact person at the bank. So this is literally, and I guess I could have put up the application, but this is about all that they're asking. It's not very complicated at all. So let's shrink this down so we can see it a bit more, review it, and then answer any questions you have. As a nonprofit, we are here to educate, provide free Shelf Corps, and use that education in the free Shelf Corps to help clients get access to capital to start and grow businesses. We know that most clients want cash loans, normally term loans, normally 10-year repayment, low interest. That's the end goal for most clients. It can vary, but that's the end goal. But we have to have a fundable business if we want to get business funding. There's the 3 C's: credit, collateral, capacity. That's what's special about our program, is that we help clients legally and ethically have all 3 C's. Here we're talking about credit. We've talked in other trainings about collateral, and we've talked in other trainings about capacity or cash flow. So that's why we can go out and make the guarantees that we can help any client, as long as they'll participate, get funding, because we're following a proven legal, ethical model. And from a credit perspective, we want to build up the credit worthiness of the business. That starts by getting the DUNS number. We've had separate trainings on that. You can see that, and we'll help each participant. Then we need to get the Dun Bradstreet profile built out, which is not complicated, doesn't cost anything. It's just making sure that when these lenders are pulling the company's D&B report, that they're seeing what we want them to see. We call it optimizing, legally, ethically. And then at that point, we need to start adding trade lines. Does it have to be a business vehicle? No, it does not have to be a business vehicle, but I don't think that it's going to be likely that we can find a quicker, easier, large trade line to add than a business vehicle, which of course is benefiting the business. You can drive it, you can wrap it, use it for advertising, what have you. Okay, so let's just wrap it up with questions, comments, concerns, and for those of you that came in late this week, because we're hiring the attorneys, we're stretched a bit, so we won't have morning Zooms on Tuesdays or Thursdays. We will have the Zoom today, of course, Wednesday and Friday. All right, Troy's asking about the PGs, and so as we talked about when we had the training on Ally last week, and that's up on YouTube. Ally will approve business financing without a PG, without a personal guarantee. But we're going to have to run it through to see if they're going to require on an individual application a personal guarantee or not. So we certainly have a bunch of trade lines that never, ever, ever ask for a PG. But when it comes to a business automobile, it depends. There are options for no PG. But we're going to have to go through the process to see if they'll approve it without a PG. Thank you, Troy, for that. Rod's asking about payments. Well, I guess it's a little personal, but I mean, I don't mind answering. I think the payment, so we financed this through the business, the Escalade. I believe it's 72 months, 6 years. and I believe it's right about 3,500 a month. Is, we obviously haven't made a payment yet. We don't have a payment due, I don't think, until early 2026. But regardless, I believe that's about accurate. But it's just going to be a common, principal times interest divided by term. So there won't be any surprises. Interest rates can vary, but normally they're around market rates. So I think when it comes to financing with what we do, there's not going to be many surprises, right? I don't think anyone's normally going to get a really great deal. You're not going to get a really bad deal. It's going to be a normal deal. I will tell you that often business interest rates are higher than consumer interest rates. So take Rod here. He might be really motivated to get a lower interest rate and buy his Escalade through his personal credit than his business credit. And he probably could save some interest expense by doing that. But what's the consequence? Now we don't have the trade line, which is why we're having this whole conversation, right? We don't sell cars. I'm not here trying to motivate you or your clients to buy a car. I'm saying that we do need to have a credit-worthy business. We do need to add trade lines, and an automobile is a unique type of trade line that's very large, it's very quick, it's very easy to get, but we do not have to do automobiles. So with that being said, the automobile is tax deductible. You get to drive it. You could wrap it if you want to wrap it, so it has your imaging, your branding on it. But yes, typically business financing terms will normally be a little bit more expensive than consumer. But that's just the way it is. All right, so let's scan through. Got a lot of questions, comments. How many of you currently have a company automobile yourself? We have 642 of you on this morning. You don't have to give me details, but if you could just take a moment and respond yes or no in the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom. Do you currently, not do you plan or have you had in the past, but as of today, as of October 20th, 2025, yes or no, do you currently have a company vehicle? Because I think it's worth considering, especially here towards the end of the year, because if we're going to follow the IRS section 179 deductions, we can get this vehicle here towards the end of the year. We have time. And as long as you take delivery of it before the end of the year under 179, you're able to deduct the full amount off. Now, there's IRS specifics that I'll let you and your accountant figure out. But just think about if you could write off a $200,000 expense for this year's taxes, plus have a big trade line, plus have a nice vehicle to drive around, it's kind of a good thing. All right, Varney's asking, could he buy a vehicle for his wife? So yes, so a business can have multiple vehicles, and often they're going to ask, how many employees do you have? And I now I don't remember if they asked this or not on this application. I don't think they did, but on Dun Bradstreet, they do ask how many employees you have. We recommend that every business have at least 5 employees. Now you might say, well, I don't have 5 employees. Well, you could have 5 positions. Maybe you haven't filled them all yet. And if you're married or have a significant other, it's okay to have your uh, spouse or significant other also as an employee of the business. As we've talked about on other trainings, we recommend paying yourself W-2. So you're not, people say, oh, I'm self-employed, I don't have W-2. Well, those are people that are not very financially literate. You want to be an employee of your own company. You want to be W-2, so taxes are withheld. And there's nothing that prevents you from having your spouse, your significant other, also as an employee of your company. Therefore, they could have a company vehicle too. So that's right, Varney. Seleno's asking about insurance. So you just want to work with your insurance agent and determine how they want you to set up the insurance on your company vehicles, if they want that to be a separate policy or the same policy. So in some cases, we're going to defer for you to talk to your accountant on taxes, your insurance agent on insurance. But certainly I can tell you to take delivery of the vehicle, they will ask for proof of insurance. But as long as you, as the business owner, have proof of insurance, they're going to come deliver the vehicle. All right. Well, with that being said, again, remember lots of other trade lines. Some of them are much more modest, but we can certainly get every business trade lines. Let's say their personal credit's a wreck. Will that keep this model from working? No. We can add business trade lines that do not have a PG. We can build out the paydex score of the business, and we can move forward in the process. So having strong or good personal credit is not a prerequisite, not a prerequisite for getting business funding, nor for getting these trade lines. So with that being said, thanks everyone. If you need assistance, recommend texting us on the support line, 903-347-8042. Our office is open all week. Don't misinterpret, but we will not have a Zoom Tuesday, tomorrow, or Thursday. We're really building up our legal team to help our clients even more thoroughly. And so that's pulling us away from some of our normal tasks. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday for Zooms. Past trainings are here, and we'll see you again Wednesday morning. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.